Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of Better Call Saul Season 6, Episode 7. Okay, the first thing just has to be said here. The title for this episode, Plan and Execution. That meant a very different thing to me 30 minutes ago than it does now that I've watched
Oh
this
my
episode.
God, there are major spoilers ahead, everyone. Oh my God, Howard.
I,
I've always enjoyed the character. He's a really interesting guy. He's always so like methodical in life and everything. To have what happened. It was just after all the unraveling, after the plan went perfectly, that this is how it all ended for him. I can't even believe what I just watched.
I'm shocked. I'm gobsmacked. I'm dumbfounded. But we are gonna
And now we have
try.
to wait until July.
We're going to try to pick up the pieces here. We'll figure out, okay, how did this happen? Why did this happen? Where did the show go from? Where do they go from here? Okay, we're going to try to give you some theories, some answers, but go ahead, hit that subscribe button because, yeah, we know it is a very long hiatus until Better Call Saul is
Yep.
back on AMC. But you know what? When it's here, we're here. We will be back. We will be discussing everything that happens, and hopefully no other major characters get killed.
Also, Obi-Wan Kenobi starting up on Friday. We're going to be covering that here. The Boys, that's going to be starting up really soon. We're going to be covering that here. So yeah, hit that subscribe button. Follow us over on our Instagram, Matt and Jess TV.
Okay, from the start, I just want to give a little bit of applause. I'm not going to clap too loud into the mic, but I want to give some applause to Patrick Fabian, who I think is outstanding in this episode. He's been so good the entirety of the show, but when
Yep.
you're on a show with Bob Odenkirk and Ray Seahorn and, Giancarlo, you don't ever get like the sort of love that you probably deserve.
Yeah, he has been always excellent, but this episode, oh my goodness, like I I didn't feel that bad for him when all this stuff was kind of starting off for him with the bowling balls and all that. I was like, okay, they're, pranks that are going too far, but they're not going to end up with him dead. Like, it's just that last scene when he showed up at their apartment is just like, what is it? Why would you do this to me? Is it just that I'm a jerk? Is it that, I sided with Chuck one too many times? I didn't give you the good office. Is this all what this is worth? And for it to end up with him getting shot by Lalo, it's just like, prank too far? Oopsie, oh no.
Prank.
Right? Like what happened?
The prank was not only too far, the prank somehow went from like Albuquerque to the ocean. Like this was just like on another level. And I will admit, through a lot of the stuff with, the failed mediation, the Casimiro just like crisis gone awry, like all that stuff, I was just thinking, okay, Howard's gonna get fired, he's not gonna have his job anymore, that'll be it. But then almost sort of like in that scene at the end of the episode, Jimmy was just like, "Oh, you'll be fine, Howard." That's kind of what I was thinking in my head too. Okay, Howard will get out of this. He'll have lost something, but the firm still gets some money in the settlement. It'll all be okay. And then just that music changes ever so slightly, and you start to see like a shadow behind Howard. And at first I was just like, is this a hallucination? Is this actually happening?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think we all knew at some point that Lala was going to end up with, Jimmy and Kim. It was just what the reasoning was going to be, when it would actually happen. I mean, I wasn't sure that it was going to happen this fast or if we would see it sort of in the last half of the season, but here we are. And I mean, I truly didn't expect to lose Howard, but the absolute best part of this episode was the three of them in that apartment and
Yeah.
him really calling out that the two of them were not only doing this for the money or because he's a jerk, that they like it a lot, like, Walter White in Breaking Bad. By the time that show ended, he really was able to admit to himself that he may have started out all of his journey to become, this big, Kingpin to get money for his family. But I mean, even from the first episode of Breaking Bad, you saw that Walter was really dealing with a lot of disrespect from Hank, from his wife, his family, his friends, at work. Like nothing, the respect that he wanted was just not there. And by the time we got to the end of the show where he was just like, I really just did a lot of this for myself. Like, this makes me feel good. And it was nice to kind of have that Easter egg here on Better Call Saul as well, where Howard's kind of like, you guys are doing this because you like it.
And I think what's fascinating to me about sort of breaking down this moment is I think Jimmy and Kim both like it, but I think they like it for slightly different reasons. Like, I think Jimmy just sort of likes the idea of pulling one over on people, and I think he likes getting a certain element of revenge, and he's much more freewheeling in how he acts. But I think Kim is very specific and measured in the sense of, she's not going through the, oh, my brother didn't respect me or love me that Jimmy is, but she's going into this with this, I'm an exceptional lawyer, and she's great at it, and yet here are all these other people who are getting these opportunities instead of me, who are doing things that I'm not doing. Like, I have a way to sort of show them how good I really am. And also, she has these feelings for Jimmy that I think we can't avoid. They bring out a sort of darkness in her that is stronger than even the darkness within Jimmy. And Howard is really smart. Howard figures all this out, and then he calls them out on it at the same exact time.
Yeah, I think one of the things that has really bothered Kim, and she expressed it to Howard before, is that he really underestimates her in the way that she can think for herself, and that she's not doing things because Jimmy wants to, or Jimmy's influencing her, or anything like that. She's doing what she wants because she wants to do it, and that's the way that it is. And he even kind of started to play that again in this scene as well, where he was kind of like, oh, it's mostly Jimmy, I'm really surprised, but you're this exceptional lawyer, why would you do this? And then by the end of it, when he was just kind of like, you guys are exactly the same. And she had this tiny little bit of, not a smile, but like a bit of a just relief that it's kind of like, yes, I can think for myself. We are the same. He is my man. I am his woman. Like, we both are still individuals though. And I can think for myself.
There's a lot of really fun irony in this entire scene and how it plays out, because like so much of the stuff that happens to Howard in this episode is just out of his control at this point. Like, I don't fault him at all for falling for this scheme because it was elaborate and really, really well done. But if he had just listened to Jimmy and Kim, who were telling him to leave, what's the worst case scenario? He walks by Lalo in the hallway on the way out. Is Lalo going to then shoot him in the head then? I don't think so.
I think so.
Oh, you do? I don't.
Let's talk about Lalo here. So Lalo decides to pull out a gun and shoots Howard. And there's a lot of reasons that he could be doing this. I mean, I'm sure one of them is to just show Jimmy and Kim that he means business, because he does. But also, he's supposed to be dead, right? So, I mean, he knows after hearing that, he's like, oh, the phone sounds like it's tapped. Okay, I'm going to give a false message out so that Gus can hear that I'm doing one thing, and I'm going to come over here and do this other thing. He's trying to make sure that the people that he wants to think that he's dead still think that he's dead, or that there's the possibility that he could possibly be dead. So leaving Howard as a witness, he doesn't know Howard. He doesn't know what Howard's going to do, who Howard's going to go call or talk to, or anything like that. If he passed by Howard in the hallway or walking out the door and he knew that he was in their apartment, we don't know exactly what Lalo's going to do. Lalo could decide to shoot Jimmy next and only, roll with Kim. And now Howard has walked out of the apartment and seen Lalo. I just don't think Lalo was going to leave anything to chance.
I think to me, it probably depends on, I guess, like you said, if he saw Howard go out of the apartment. I think the real, like, to me, the motivation for Lalo in this moment is, yeah, I think a lot of it is what you're saying, that he can't leave any loose ends. He can't leave anybody alive. And I think he also does want to show, his power, his capability. I also kind of wonder, I mean, he's walking in on what is clearly a contentious situation, and I don't know how much of it he heard before he walked in there. He might have heard, Jimmy and Kim already basically telling this guy to leave. I think at a certain point, Lalo may have just been like, okay, you know what? This is going on for a little while. I need to take care of my business. I'm on the clock here. I just need to wrap this up and then move on. And then he just takes out Howard because he thinks that that's the easiest way to deal with all of this, which would be really ironic because it feels like there's a lot of time that would go into cleanup and everything else after the fact.
Okay, so let's talk about Lalo's motivation for being there.
Yeah.
Why does he need these two lawyers? Or is he really just there for Kim? Because we've seen him interact with both of them. He's had, of course, Jimmy help him out, but he has a lot of respect for Kim.
He does. And I think that respect goes a long way here because what we know about Lalo through a lot of this episode is obviously he wants to destroy the Chicken Man. Like, he's made that very, very clear. But there's also been talk about proof. How do you figure this out? And, as much fun as I had watching Lalo morph into, one of the Ninja Turtles living in the sewer, it's just like, there's got to be something more for him. And a part of this is checking out Gus's operation, finding the ins and outs of that. But if he's going to take some sort of like legal recourse here, which requires proof, he's going to need attorneys. He's going to need people who can actually go in there and craft an argument and figure out the best way to do this. Because I think for him at this point, yeah, taking out some of Gus's guys could be a temporary sort of solution to his problem. But if he can sort of show this super lab is out there and just like shut down this operation for good, Lalo is a very maniacal man. I think he could sort of see the idea of Gus being locked up somewhere as like a fate worse than death in his eyes. And I think he would enjoy and appreciate doing that, but it is a very, very difficult sort of path that he's weaving when he's also trying to be dead.
For sure. He really needs Gus to be in a position where he can't run things anymore. And then the plug is just taken out and, they'll find somebody else to supply the drugs, that it'll be fine. But this is very personal for Lalo at this point.
Once you are willing to live in the sewer for an extended period of time, I think no one can ever question your resolve, Lalo.
Yeah, when he pulled out those flip-flops, I'm like, where are we going with this? Oh, okay, he's going to take a public shower. Here we are.
Lalo is incredible. I'm almost sad that Lalo is probably going to die at some point soon as well, just because he's such a phenomenal character.
Yeah,
and he really is like a legitimate Gus adversary. And yeah, we even saw in this episode that, Gus and Mike are working their best in order to get a read on what he's up to and trying to figure things out. But it's hard. Lalo is he's one guy who's very well trained, very resourceful, and he's able to be relatively undetected.
And he was able to get one over on them. He really, he tried to call his uncle, heard the crackling, was like, okay, hung up, called back. Okay, let's go with another plan so that we can, have Gus and Mike and everybody busy while he goes and does something else. I just got to say, I'm going to really miss Howard on this show. I really am. I mean, that scene must have been really difficult for the three of them to, actually shoot. By the three of them, I'm meaning, the Jimmy, the Kim, the Howard. They have been through it on this show, and the three of them are really good friends.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Bob Odenkirk had a heart attack in the process of filming this show, this final season, and he seems to be doing great now, which makes me very, very happy. I know we were all just terrified in the immediate aftermath of this. Now, one of the things that Bob has said in some interviews is that this particular event happened after shooting a scene with Ray Seahorn and Patrick Fabian, and it was right around the middle of production. And the way that he sort of told this story, and I'm not saying at all that, the content of this scene is linked in any way to what happened to Bob or anything like that, but he described this situation where instead of going back to his trailer, he just wanted to spend some time hanging out with his friends, with his cast members. And I think it really kind of paints it in an even more interesting light here now that we know that, okay, this may have been Patrick Fabian's final scene on the show. And maybe the reason they all wanted to hang out was to sort of pay tribute to him. And it is this bizarre sort of set of circumstances where we can all be so grateful that, Bob is such a good person who wanted to spend time with the departing cast member, because otherwise who knows what would have happened to him.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting sort of tidbit. And as we move forward now into the final episodes of Better Call Saul, I think the big question is, what does this event do to Jimmy and Kim? I feel like once you see somebody get shot in the head right in front of you, you probably put your life into perspective.
Yeah, especially since, Lalo showing up is not linked to the prank that they just pulled on him, but which, by the way, was amazingly executed.
Yes.
The whole episode of that playing out was just perfection. It was a 10 out of 10. I loved every second of it. I felt bad for Howard, but it was so well done.
Yeah.
So how does this, even though it's not linked, Lalo didn't show up because of this prank or anything like that. Yeah, Howard showed up, but they couldn't predict Lalo was going to show up at all. How is this going to change things for them? Because they may see it as linked to be like, okay, we did this thing. And because of that, Howard came over. And because of other things we did, now Lalo's here. And now Howard is dead. So we've gone from, this not great prank that was going to really hurt Howard pretty bad. But yeah, he would bounce back to it. And now he's dead. So going forward, I just don't know. I think that Jimmy's going to have an extremely hard time with it because underneath everything, he does care about people.
Yeah, he does. I think this event is going to, on some level, change them. I mean, Jimmy's making a lot of money as Saul. He's finding a lot of success as Saul, and clearly he keeps that up through Breaking Bad. But I think this may explain further some of the misery we also see from him in Breaking Bad. And the stress of this situation, maybe that is a part of what causes whatever happens with him and Kim to start to fracture. Like, I'm not giving up on my theory yet that, like, they find a way back to each other in, Nebraska, and that somehow Saul is able to manipulate Ed, the vacuum repair guy, to make this happen, to go there and all that sort of stuff. But it's clearer, even clearer now. It's going to be a really, really hard road when we don't know how this particular event's going to shape Jimmy, how it's going to affect Kim, because we really don't have any idea about that at all.
Yeah, I'm really wondering, watching everything that they did to unravel Howard and then watching him get killed in front of their eyes, how it will affect their relationship, because it's going to affect each of them differently of how much guilt they're going to carry around because, now Howard is dead and they're going to either feel like they had a hand in it or maybe one of them won't feel that they have a hand in it. I do think that it's going to weigh on their relationship somewhat. Do I think it's going to get to the point that it's going to break them up? I don't think so. I mean, they've been through a lot together already as, friends of the cartel, but I mean, and Jimmy in the desert and, all that type of stuff that happened. But this takes it to another level. Is this something that they can get through together?
I'm worried. I'm worried about everything now. I'm also worried about, our own mental state now that we're in a really long hiatus. Like, why did this have to be the episode before the hiatus? I mean, why?
I can't believe he's dead.
I know. We're still stunned. I mean, we're gonna go off and be in mourning over all of this.
Yeah,
but
we're gonna pour one out for Howard tonight.
Howard, we are going to just have like the most, snobbery drink possible. Because what better way to toast you in your smarmy ways?
Yep.
Goodbye, Howard. Hit that subscribe button. We will still be here. We will still hold Howard near and dear to our hearts. Follow us on Instagram as well at Jess TV, and we'll see you guys here next time.